finally, we're going to get to see some real racing again at Sydney Motorsport Park. So after what feels like waiting an eternity since the cars raced in Adelaide, it's hard to believe that's going to be still part of this championship, considering everything that's happened over the last few months. It does nearly seem like a lifetime ago. We're going to see some real racing at Sydney Motorsport Park in a couple of weeks, and they've released the formats and some rule changes, I suppose, for the weekend. So there's only going to allow 6 men in the pit stop. Normally there's 8, so you have a guy doing the air spike, a couple of fuel guys, the car controller, and then 4 guys doing the wheels. You're only allowed 6. There will be no refueling, and you're only allowed 2 rattle guns. So I suppose there's the air spike guy, the car controller, and then 2 guys on each rattle gun. You have to change a minimum of 2 tyres in the 1 compulsory pit stop for each of the races. Be interesting to see whether, the majority goes for the 2 tyre, or whether, some go for 4, some go for 2, and that. Sydney Motorsport Park is a harder track on tyres, so maybe it will be worth the, changing all 4 and spending that little bit extra time in the pits to have 4 fresh tyres on the car. Or, if anyone holds out till as long as possible, maybe waiting for a late safety car or something, and then, get to blaze through the field at the end. It just probably just gives a bit more of an opportunity for different strategies, which in my mind, that is a good thing. Would have been interesting as well if they allowed refueling, and then whether you decided to, start with half a tank or something and then, refuel. But I fully understand, this whole COVID thing, we're trying to get less people to the track. And speaking of that, there will be no live data coming from the car to the pits during the race, which I suppose that takes away a big need to have like 14 engineers in the pits, going over the data, having one guy sitting there staring at a screen all race, just checking the engine revs or whatever and things like that. It's a bit more the old days, like send it, off you go and race, we'll see you in half an hour when you get back. And I suppose debriefs and things like that will become a little bit more serious. The guys who are good at that, whether this is just kind of a thing for Sydney Motorsport Park, or, while we've got reduced crews and that there, or whether they go, hey, this kind of worked. Let's really look at reducing the crew and the data and things like that to try and, it's okay, some guys are going to be out of a job, but all of a sudden you'd reduce at least 2 engineers out of each team if you haven't got live data and things like that, I would imagine. So there probably goes at least 150k, 200k out of a budget. If for a 2-car team, you're at least taking away 1 data engineer, I'd imagine. Another rule change to try and save some money is there will be no rookie test days for the rest of the year. What they're going to do is run additional sessions at some of the rounds for the rookies. This is something I'd actually like to see more of. Quite a few years ago, I think it was very early 2000s, Formula One, essentially, I think they, in the days where you had, unlimited testing and they were trying to bring it back, what they did was, I think you could nominate if you wanted to go and do, say, 20 test days during the year, or you got a very handful of test days, like maybe 8 or something, but you could run Friday morning sessions. And I think it was a 2-hour open session, and you could run a 3rd car if you wanted. And of course, the big teams went, nah, we want 20 test days. And it was interesting, would have been very early 2000s because Renault signed up for it at the time when they were stepping back up. And they were running a third car, obviously, on the Friday morning sessions because they had the budget and that. And that helped them greatly over the weekend. Because of the limited testing and that these days, not a bad idea. Even, maybe turn the Friday or the Monday into a test day at certain tracks. You've got all the equipment there and everything. You're already at the track. You're already set up. It's takes away from having to go to a track for a special trip for a test day. Just one of those things. So anyway, the rookies are going to get an additional test session on the Saturday morning because it's only a 2-day event. The teams will be competing in 3 33-lap races around Sydney. On the Sunday, there's going to be 2 races and 2 15-minute qualifying sessions. On the Saturday, we have this weird knockout qualifying where I think it's an all-in session first up, and then 4 guys get knocked out, and then it's all in, except for the 4 that got knocked out, into the second session, and then I think it's 4, 5, whatever. See who turns up. Guys get knocked out, and then we have a, get ready for it, top 15 shootout. We've done top 15 shootouts before. It's just like, hand out a participation award kind of thing. It was bad when there was like 28 cars in the field and we had a top 15 shootout. Like, it's going to be even worse having 24 cars in the field, and it's essentially everyone gets a run in it. If we're going down this route, why have a whole field shootout? Done. Then we don't have to worry about the crap before. Everyone gets their couple of minutes on TV. Everyone's happy, and it all. That's just my opinion. If it was up to me, though, what I would be doing, I thought those kind of heat qualifying races at Michigan were really good. What I would do is have a hat. You draw out of the hat 1 to 24. All the odd numbers go in race 1. All the even numbers go in race 2. So we have 2 qualifying races. So then the winner from Heat 1 starts on pole. The winner from Heat 2 starts in second. Second in Heat 1 starts in third, kind of thing. So essentially, like, Heat 1 makes up the odd side of the grid. Heat 2 makes up the even side of the grid. And because it's been drawn out of hat, take your chances. And then at the next round, what we do is invert what was picked out of the hat at the last one to say, so if, say, Scott McLaughlin picks out number 1 and Jamie Whincup picks out number 24, then at the next round, Whincup's number 1 and McLaughlin's number 24 for the qualifying races. So then you don't kind of get an advantage, mix it around like that, or, maybe even random number generator or something, make it a bit of fun. I think also for something like that to work, there's no point in, like reversing the top 10 or something like that. The whole field needs to be involved in it. So you get the chances of, maybe seeing a Matt Stone or a Techno Team Sydney or something up the front of the grid and one of the big guys right down the back. This is a strange year. So if we're going to do something like this, this is the time to try it. Maybe we should have tried this in the E-Series. But no, we had very standard kind of stuff in there rather than really exploring some of these wacky ideas. An interesting little side rule that's come about for the rest of this season. If someone can't compete due to getting the coronavirus, so like in Melbourne, essentially a couple of McLaren people got it and they pulled out, so that was kind of part of the whole thing, but McLaren were pulling out, so no one else was going to race. So say Scott McLaughlin gets corona and can't compete in Sydney, what they're going to do is have a drop your worst round. So that's, as far as I understand, that's, if anybody, even if one of the Techno Team Sydney guys gets ill, so essentially if someone misses out on a round, it, kind of becomes a null and void thing, so it doesn't affect the championship. They used to do this, I think, 80s, even early 90s, back in the Australian Touring Car Championship with Group A cars. I'm pretty sure they had a drop your worst round. Formula One did it for quite a few years. I think they might have even taken like the top 10 results of, the season or something like that. Been all sorts of weird and wonderful formulas like this of, drop your worst rounds and things like that. I think even the BTCC still does it to this day, so nothing new there. I suppose it is a bit of a good idea if, one of the main guys in the championship does get sick and misses a round. It doesn't affect the championship that much, really. So, in Sydney, it will be races 7, 8 and 9 coming up in 2 weeks. You may ask, what the fuck happened to races 3, 4, 5 and 6? Well, that was at the Grand Prix and we qualified for races 3 and 4. I'm not sure how all that works. I'm sure there's some technicality thing that they're doing because, they have to have so many rounds to fit the TV obligations, and I suppose they're probably going to say, oh, well, we turned up at the Grand Prix and there was TV on for a day, so we're going to count that, that as rounds 3, 4, 5 and 6, and that event happened. Just one of those other little bizarre things that doesn't really make a lot of sense. If you supercarstalk@gmail.com if you want to get in contact with me. Got any questions or anything, you want to send me some abuse, whatever, I'm open to it all. Subscribe, share, whatever. I see a lot of people saying that kind of stuff on YouTube. Apparently it's good to try and, bump up the numbers on the channel. Would be good to bump up the numbers a little bit and possibly even start earning some sweet YouTube money. Then I could, make this set a bit fancier or invest in some better equipment, because I tell you what, my computer loves doing video editing. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you later.